Welcome, everyone, to Sports Shorts Daily. Ronnie Rantz, Tommy Krysan on this Rougarou Friday. TK rocking the Baton Rouge Rougarou starter jacket, which you can see online at brrougarou.com if you want to get one. And I am rocking the polo. And we are over here on this Friday morning. Hope everybody's having a good one. It is baseball weather today. Not going to be tomorrow, though. Going to dip down, going to get chilly for 48 hours before it gets back right again. All right, Tommy, some news to get to today as he joins us over from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Speaking of college baseball, JUCO, Division II, all that stuff kind of gets cranked up this weekend. But we're 2 weeks away from Division One. That'll be 2 weeks from today, Friday, February 13th, 2 o'clock at the box. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. LSU's women win by 22, I think, last night. They beat Arkansas. By the way, Tommy, the point spread in that game was LSU minus 41.5. I mean, so a couple buddies of mine made money betting on Arkansas. 41.5 in the SEC is a lot. And it was never a sweat. Arkansas led by 7 in the second quarter in that game, but LSU ended up pulling away and winning by 22. Patrick Reed, former U High Cub, a high school golfer in Baton Rouge, big Patrick Reed, going to be back in the PGA at some point in about a year from now. TK will tell us about that. Ole Miss may be in a real pickle with their football program. There may be some real sanctions, not just what we heard from Clemson complaining about Ole Miss tampering. Tommy will tell you about some new allegations. Speaking of golf, Brooks Koepka back on the PGA Tour, played his first round on the PGA Tour in about 4 years. Shot a 73. He's in like 100th place or something over there, but that was only the first round. Bill Belichick, still some fallout to him not getting into the Hall of Fame. We'll tell you what one voter at least is speaking out and saying. But first, Tommy, college baseball, we joke all the time that the coldest I've ever been is at Alex Box Stadium. And fingers crossed that is not the case February 13th, 14th, 15th, the Mardi Gras weekend when LSU opens up against Milwaukee. The good news is they don't play night games the first week of the season at home. They play day games, and so therefore you can potentially avoid the severe cold.
Well, and I think that's a 5-game homestand, and they also play Monday against not Milwaukee, and then I think Nichols on Wednesday. So,
correct.
Some of the coldest I've ever been is at Alex Box Stadium, and but I'm gonna be out there on the 13th. I want to see this edition of the Tigers, and it's something interesting. Jay Johnson said it's the best roster he's ever had. Now, keep this in mind. That doesn't mean it's the best team he ever had. It's the best roster he ever had, and I'm sure he's hoping it becomes one of the best teams because he had a pretty good roster a couple of years ago with Skeens, Cruz, and the rest of the guys. So I'm looking forward to that. But you're right. Tomorrow will not be baseball weather. Let's hope the 13th is bearable.
Jay, but you talk about close to the vest. Guy doesn't say anything to you. I know I'm going to be visiting with him before opening day, just a little one-on-one meeting in his office to kind of go over, the team and stuff, because obviously I'll be doing a number of games as a broadcaster. And so look forward to that meeting. Maybe I'll get a peek behind the curtain, but I'm not really expecting too much. I expect the company line. I've had many private conversations with Jay in his office, and oftentimes they're not a lot different than what you hear. Sometimes maybe even, maybe not quite exactly what's going on.
You're telling me I could write the speech what Jay's going to tell you?
Yeah. But the one thing that we know he's going to say is there's so many options. There's so much talent, and there's so many options. The thing that I continue to be amazed with to me that goes unsaid about the job that Jay Johnson's doing at LSU is the question is just simply, how does he keep all these egos in check? You got a lot of great players. You got these transfer portal players. Many of those transfer portal players are older guys, right? Juniors or seniors or extra year or whatever. How do you keep a guy who's been a player and done well, and he comes here and maybe he doesn't play as much because he's at LSU and he's getting beat out by a future big leaguer? And it doesn't matter whether or not the player deep down knows this guy's better than me. How do you still keep him mentally in there and happy and all that?
That's the key that Jay Johnson has done, leading up to this year. and I think he'll continue to do it. The other thing he does right is he shows a list of Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, and like 50 other guys that have played for him, going back to his days in Arizona and even out in California, who got a great shot to made it to the major leagues or came close and made some bucks. And now they're making bucks at LSU. And I think it's a mindset, that you're going to be part of something really special. They updated the Intimidator in right field. That looks awesome. I saw the video on that. It went viral with, tens of thousands of views. So, hey, I'm ready for 2 weeks from today. And I know Jay Johnson will be ready, and he'll probably have his team ready.
Yeah, we'll be talking plenty more about that as we
Yeah.
get closer. All right, like I mentioned, LSU's women packed house last night at the PMAC. Not the same for the guys, by the way. Plenty of good seats available for LSU men's basketball. You can probably get a free ticket. There'll be people giving them away either online or outside the stadium. LSU's women, they're rolling. They figured it out. The point spread was ridiculous, so you had to bet against them, even though you knew they would win. 41.5 last night was insane. But the men have won one game all year. And of course, most famously blew the 18-point lead against Kentucky and lost on a buzzer beater at home. And that kind of, ever since then, they've just gone in the tank. I don't see a scenario where McMahon finishes the season. I think he's going to be let go before the last game.
Do you? Okay.
I really do.
I've talked with a lot of my friends about that, and some people that pay more attention to it than I do. They think he's definitely gone at the end of the year. But, and somebody said the other day after they lost at home, got ran out the gym by Mississippi State, there was 6.5-point favorites, that'd have been a good time to do it. Because David Patrick's on the staff, he could be an interim head coach because you got to think of that if you're going to make an in-season move, who can take over. So we'll just have to see how this unfolds. And I mean, they go to South Carolina, play at noon tomorrow. That game's been moved up because of the Arctic blast all over the country. So we'll see. But I agree with you. I think something will happen. Certainly right after the season, but it may happen before, just so they can send them. LSU's athletics got to show, hey, we care about men's basketball. We know we care about everything else.
Yeah, I mean, there's just no value at some point in keeping a dead man walking. And if anything, you may energize the fans for a couple games. Again, you're sending a message to your base. This is unacceptable. And human nature is, these fans are going to feel sorry for the players. They're going to want to, support them, and all that. And maybe you get a little juice. Maybe all of a sudden, your team's got something to play for, whether they like the coach, didn't like the coach, whether they like the interim coach, whether it's just an attention grabber, like we might all be gone, which they will be. To me, when in coaching, when you're going to fire a coach, for sure, to me, you're better off doing it right then and there, because if you're going to fire a coach, he knows and everybody else knows, and that's just nowhere to be. You're not going to. That's meaningless. So
I agree 100% with you on that. That which is going to happen eventually might as well happen now.
Maybe something that may happen eventually is Ole Miss football. I mean, look, Pete Golden, former Southeastern line assistant and all that stuff, and his dad coached high school ball in Louisiana, is in a pickle, because now it's not just Dabo Sweeney, reading off receipts and complaining and some people's whining. Dabo Sweeney now has someone else, Fresno State. Tell us about it, Tommy.
Well, they got a wide receiver who was their leading receiver at Fresno State. He's coming back for his 6th year, and apparently Ole Miss has tampered with him. Fresno's coach, Fresno's AD are keeping quiet. They're saying we're going to let the NCAA do what they have. But the word is Fresno State has the receipts. Kind of like Dabo Sweeney had that text message. That means Fresno State's got something concrete, paper trail, or evidence that something may have been tampered with. Okay, and instead of just saying, "Hey, they called my guy," no, they supposedly have some factual documentation of Ole Miss tampering with their wide receiver, trying to get him to go to Oxford. So that's what Clemson thing might have been strike one. This might be strike two. I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds. Now, tampering goes on everywhere and all over the place, but when you got the receipts, It's a little different.
Yeah, it's when it's in black and white, and you got a plaintiff, if you will, that's pushing, pushing, pushing. It's hard for the NCAA not to do something. They may not be as harsh as they should be, or we think, or whatever, but you almost feel like they got to do something. A guy who's familiar with being in the controversy, Bill Belichick. This is the first time that I think everyone's on Bill Belichick's side. 99% of the world feels sorry for Bill Belichick, sympathetic towards Bill Belichick, singing his praises. That's quite different.
Well, there was one voter who did not vote for Belichick who came out. I think he's from Kansas City, a sports writer, a sports TV guy, who said, and I didn't know this, those 50 voters only put 3 people on their ballot, okay? And he picked 3 others because he figured Belichick would get in, and he wanted the other guys to have a better chance. He didn't realize what would happen. So, but he explained his reason. He was transparent. And some people said, hey, okay, I don't agree with you, sir, but that's your opinion, etc. So we'll see. You know, and Ronnie, with the part B of this whole Hall of Fame thing, Eli Manning did not get elected again. This was his second year of eligibility. And everybody points to his career record, not in the playoffs, which is 500, 117 and 117. And the fact that he was hardly ever near the top of the leaders in passing statistics categories in the NFL. He did win 2 Super Bowls against the Patriots. So I think Eli Manning will end up getting in, but I'm not surprised that it may take a while.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's fair. I don't think anyone really felt like, other than maybe a hardcore Giants fan, felt that Eli Manning was a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think we all feel like he's like most guys that get in the Hall of Fame. You know, you got to wait a little bit and wait for the right moment and this, that, and the other. By the way, Eli Manning, of course, in the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and a team member, just like you are, Tommy. He's a supporter. He actually renewed his membership yesterday, day before. He's a little higher level than you, TK. A little higher level.
Well, he's got a bigger checkbook than I have, right? I would be stunned if you told me he was the same level that I am. Since y'all began, I've been a member since the day y'all started. And then look, I got it on the screen. LASportshall.com. Go become a team member.
Right.
I've been supporting it since y'all started that. I wear the hat, I wear the shirts, and I'm proud to be a part of that and help everything you guys got going on at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame up in Natchitoches.
Yeah, so Eli, definitely will have his day one day. But here's the thing, and I know I can somewhat relate to that, because there are times with Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame voting, which, by the way, we have 40 voters. The Hall of Fame has 50, and those 40 voters aren't the same each and every year. There's some tweaks and changes a little bit to it, and it's a representative of the state, and it's radio and TV, and mostly sports writers, and there's all veterans and people that have covered sports for a long, long time. But sometimes you have somebody like, let's say, like a Drew Brees, right? It's called absentia. If you just all vote, like, hey, we're just, before we do the ballots and all, like everybody else, I'm just going to do it by absentia. It's everybody raising their hand. Drew Brees, unanimous. And last year, I think it might have been last year, year before, I can't remember. We were going to potentially talk about doing that for someone like, say, maybe Sylvia Fowles, right? Who's won 4 gold medals and went to 4 Final Fours with LSU and all this stuff. And WNBA championships and everything. And I think we did not. I think the sports writer said, hey, look, I know that let's just do it. Let's vote normal. Let's if you vote for the 3 you think should get in. But I've also been that guy, Tommy, that I've got I really want to get Tommy Krysan in. And so we have 5 people on our ballots, and you rank them, they're all not the same, right? You get 5 points, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points. So you do it and you put a value next to them. And there's times where I'm like, okay, well, I know John Doe is going to get in. Like, he's tracking that way. We've done 2 rounds of voting or 1 round of voting, and he's right there on the doorstep. But I want to make sure my guy maybe gets some points. And so maybe I put my guy at 5 and him at 4 or 3, And so, I've seen it, somehow how it can adjust and tweaking. You have a round of vote and you go, wait a minute, he didn't get in? And it's like, okay, well, a bunch of people obviously thought like me. Now we need to just get him in, get him across the threshold. So those things can happen. It just seems like it shouldn't happen. And again, there's also conversations that happen prior to voting. And to think for a moment that it was not said how they were going to handle Bill Belichick, or should we all vote him in, or da 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 da. That's different. By the way, Bill Polian got a lot of heat. The former GM of many teams. Bill Polian, Colts drafted Peyton Manning and all that, but Bill Polian, who's very involved with the Hall of Fame selection committee, there were reports that he stood up in a meeting and said, "Don't vote for Bill Belichick." He came out and denied that. Say that is not true. That is false. Matter of fact, I did have Belichick on my ballot. That's the reports.
Well, yeah, I know things like that happen, Ronnie. As you know, I was fortunate enough to get elected to the St. Bernard Parish Sports Hall of Fame. You were at the induction ceremony, and I knew they were meeting one night, and I knew I was on the ballot. And I mean, I didn't get away from my phone hoping it would ring. And it got to be like 10 o'clock, and it hadn't rang. I said, well, maybe that's the way it goes, I guess. I got a call at like quarter to 11 that night saying that I had been voted in. So, and then that's nothing compared to the Pro Football Hall of Fame or the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. But I remember the me flapping in the wind a little bit.
Absolutely, as well you should. Let's talk a little golf for a minute, real quick. Brooks Koepka back on the PGA Tour, which is a death blow to LIV. And they also have Patrick Reed has left the LIV Tour. I mean, how terrible for the city of New Orleans, right? They get LIV Golf in this June for the first time ever. The state of Louisiana is writing a big check to LIV to bring them here. And now their biggest star, arguably their biggest star, in Brooks Koepka, no longer with LIV. Oh, the state, hometown boy coming. No. Former Masters champion, played high school golf in Baton Rouge. No, he's left the tour. So Patrick Reed's going to sit out, and he'll come back at some point later this year or next year.
Yeah, Patrick Reed graduated from U High. He was on 2 state championship golf teams at U High, 06, 07, I believe. And I've always liked Patrick Reed as a golfer. And of course, he's a Masters winner. So, I mean, that's not as long a list as people think of that have won the Masters. So, I've always been a Patrick Reed fan. I know there's been issues over the years with he and his family, and there's been stuff, but I like watching that dude play golf, and he's a very good golfer, obviously. And I'm glad to see he's coming back to the PGA Tour.
Patrick Reed and Aaron Rodgers, similar stories, right? Not beloved by everybody, not necessarily beloved by every player. Both of them have family troubles and all that kind of stuff. Patrick Reed's well documented that he's a surly figure, but where he's earned his stripes, not only did he win a Masters, but where he earned his stripes on the Ryder Cup. He was he was a great teammate, won a lot of big games. Loves that competition. Little Patrick Reed, story was he started off his college career at Augusta State right there, in Augusta, Georgia, Division II school, won a couple national championships there, Augusta College or whatever. No, I'm sorry. He ended up going there junior and senior year. First 2 years is at University of Georgia. And then he got kicked out of school. Supposedly he grabbed a girl's rear end, something like that. Well, he wanted to come to LSU. And the LSU golf team had a team meeting along with their head golf coach at the time to discuss it. And the golf team voted no, not to offer him a spot. So he is not the biggest LSU fan, that's for sure.
Well, and I'll tell you this, one thing I like about Patrick, he's got that stare. He's got that look, especially like in that Ryder Cup. I'm reminded of Dave Stewart in baseball had that stare. Roger Clemens had that stare. Patrick Reed in that Ryder Cup, you looked at him and you could see he was so focused. And that's one of the reasons I like him, the competitiveness and wanting to do everything he can to help the Ryder Cup team, help USA. So we'll see. I'll be happy to see him back on the PGA Tour.
All right, TK, tell us about Tremonti's as we get out of here on this Friday, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, Saturday, 10 to noon. We'll be at Leola's Cafe on Government Street. Great brunch spot right next to 1863, 1864. I can't remember the name of the which year it is for the antique store right there on Government Street. But we'll be there tomorrow, and of course you can check us out on ESPN Radio in Lake Charles, Lafayette, and Baton Rouge.
All right, Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. You come get some lunch today. Get you some wine and bourbon to load up for the cold weekend. They got it all here at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, Jefferson Highway in Baton Rouge. Hit them up on Facebook. Hit them up on Instagram. I know everybody does that. You can order stuff online at Tremonti's.com. Crawfish are coming soon. Catering's available at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Don't forget to like and share this show, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, or X. like and share this show. Tell your friends about it. That's your homework assignment. I'll be joining the guys via the phone tomorrow on the radio. Got a tournament over at Most Blessed Sacrament School that I got to work. So I'll jump in there with Hunter McCann, Ronnie Rantz, Joel Davis, and the gang. Have a great Friday, everyone. And for the weekend, stay warm, be smart, be safe.